Hi, this is Long Vo, and today I am analyzing one of my games from the Burlington Chess Club. In On May the 22nd, 2012, I'm currently ranked 1354, and I'm playing black. My opponent playing white is Larry Polpa, rating 1562. So here is an example of a rookie mistake that I made, just not recognizing some mating patterns. And I thought that I had a pretty good position, at least to draw. And even my opponent admitted that I had the better position. So let's get started. So he goes e4, and against e4 I do like to play the French defense, e6. He goes knight f3. I go d5, challenging the center. So e takes d, and e takes d. Now he goes d4, and right away I challenge the center again, playing c5, and I really like this move because if he takes, then I can develop my bishop. And I do like it when the pawn goes ahead of the knight, so then once the knight goes, I do have a potential outpost later on. He goes c3, defending his d pawn. Then I develop my knight to c6, putting more pressure on that pawn. So he defends it again, bishop to e3. So at this point he's really over defending that pawn, which makes sense. He has 4 defenders, so this pawn here, bishop, knight, and queen, and I only have 2 attackers. So I don't think there's any way for me to win the pawn, so I'm just gonna wait like that and hope that eventually create a lot of pressure in the center, and then he would eventually take, and I would get a chance to develop my dark square bishop. So queen goes to b6, exerting even more pressure on the d4 pawn, because after the exchange the queen is attacking. So right now this is an x-ray. Oh, and plus the queen is attacking the b2 pawn. So when he left that post there, so it was undefended, so I decided to attack it. So he goes b3. Now he has this backward pawn, which will, in my mind, I started eyeing on that pawn as my target. So then I develop my light square bishop to g4, pinning the knight, so 1 less defender on the pawn, so really putting more pressure on that pawn. So he goes bishop to a2, blocking the pin on the queen. I develop my knight to f6, and notice how I try to hold off moving my dark square bishop, hoping that he would the pressure would eventually cause him to exchange. So he chases my bishop away with h3. I retreat the bishop to h5, still maintaining that pressure on the knight and indirectly on the d pawn. He develops his other knight to d2, and I put some pressure on the knight and the c pawn as well. So he exchanges knights. So knight takes e4, and d takes e. So now I didn't really notice, but the e pawn now becomes a weakness for me, and I didn't really notice that, and my opponent does take advantage of that later on. So D takes C, attacking the queen, and so I was happy with that move because it gave me a chance to develop the dark square bishop. Bishop takes C5. So then he goes knight to D4, attacking the bishop with a discovered attack, and sort of attacking the knight as well. So this is where his attack on my pawn starts. So perhaps probably a better move for me would have been to retreat the bishop, but then it becomes really stuck and inactive because the knight is covering the light squares. So bishop takes E2, queen takes E2, and as you can see now the queen is x-raying this this pawn here, and at this moment I didn't realize that yet. So I go rook to D8 with the open file, which to me makes sense. So here comes his combination. So knight takes C6, forcing the exchange. Queen takes C6 because I don't want to weaken my pawns. And then he will continue exchanging. Bishop takes C5, and now my pawn is hanging. So I didn't even realize that at that moment. So queen takes C5, and queen takes E4 check. And on top of that, he causes me to lose my ability to castle. So king to F8, and it's not too bad for me because most pieces are off the board, so the king is in less danger, and so it's not really that bad. But then I'm going to lose some moves trying to develop the H rook, and because he's leading by position and material wise, he decides to exchange queens. So he's offering an exchange. Obviously there's no choice because the queen is pinned. But before exchanging queens, I decided to go rook E8 check. He goes king D1. Queen takes B4. I had no choice. Pawn takes B4. Now he has the double pawn here, but it's not really a weakness because at this point, as long as this pawn marches up, and if he somehow manages to exchange with one of these pawns, then it's 2 against 1, which he will eventually achieve. So now G6, making room for my king to go here so I could develop the H rook. Rook to E1, offering an exchange. So he's trying to go into the end game, so I knew that I had to keep my rooks as long as possible. So rook to D8 check. King to C2. King to G7, opening the path for my rook. Rook to D1, offering another exchange. Rook to C8 check. King to B2. So I think at this point I'm actually helping him not centralize the king, but get his king closer to his pawn to really storm the queen side, I guess. And so now I go rook to c7. So the idea here is to double the rooks and perhaps get them onto the second rank and attacking the king and some of the pawns here. So he offers another exchange with rook to c7. So rook to d7. So as long as my rook is on the 7th rank here, I can still double up the rook. So it doesn't really matter which file I'm on. So he goes rook to e2. And I think he also has the idea of doubling the rooks, or preventing me from going on to the second rank. So rook to d8, doubling the rooks. So rook to c2, so he's also connecting his rook to make them stronger. I think that the connection this way is a little bit better for the rooks than the horizontal one. h5. Now it's time to start pushing my pawns and attacking on the king side. So he does the same thing, a4. So now rook to d3. Well, not really attacking anything, but I guess centralizing the rooks a little bit more. And I'm not sure if this move was really a good one, because perhaps here would have been a stronger move, so perhaps I could create some kind of a blockade. But anyways, that's the move that I played. So he keeps pushing his pawn. Actually, if I got my rook in there, I don't think that's a good move, because the king can simply attack. So maybe that's why I went there. So now I block his pawn with b6. And that's the double pawn. So of course he's trying to exchange this somehow, and I'm preventing him from doing that as long as possible. And he pushes the other pawn g3. Probably trying to create a pass pawn somehow. And here I go h4 with the idea that if he takes, then I would simply take back and then continue to attack the h pawn. I think that's what he did. Yes, that's what he did. And so now his rook to e7 attacks my a pawn, and I go rook to d3, threatening to take his b pawn and checking him. So he retreats the rook to e3, forcing an exchange. I had no choice. I had to exchange. Rook takes e3, f takes e3, and now obviously I had a choice between the h pawn or the e pawn. So I chose the e pawn because it was a pass pawn, so it was more dangerous to me. And the h pawn, I had the pawn here plus the king defending. Rook takes e3. So now he continues his attack. Rook to c7, threatening the a pawn, and really trying to create a pass pawn here. So rook goes to e4. So I think either this move or this move is the same, but I chose to keep the well, if I went here, I would have created like a net here that will not allow the king to go, but he can still go here. So either way, it's the same. So the goal here is to attack the h pawn, and if he decides to move up, then I would capture with temple. So that was the idea. So rook takes a7. rook takes h4, and rook to b7, attacking the b pawn. So at this point, I'm getting pretty nervous because he has 3 pawns storming down the queen side. However, I do have 2 pass pawns that is really my last hope. So I start pushing g5. So he takes rook takes b6. So at this point, I thought that if I kept pushing the g pawn, I could perhaps beat him to queening, because now he has to get the rook out of the way and then push the b pawn, and plus I can always come down here to defend. So I keep pushing g4, then he goes rook to c6, getting out of the b pawn's way. So I keep pushing g3, and now he starts to panic a bit. So he backs off and decides to play defense instead of pushing the pawn, because he knows that I would be queening before him. So now rook to h2 check. So I'm really happy with this check, because later on it gains a tempo for the pawn to continue pushing and remaining protected by the rook. So king goes to a3. So I think that's also good for him, because his king is getting closer to his pawns, providing protection. So I keep pushing. So g2. So one move away from queening. And he goes rook to g3 check. So at this point, I had the choice either going up or down, and I decided to go down because I didn't want to block my pawn. So king to f8. So now he starts pushing, and perhaps that was a mistake from my part going down there, because now I have to move the king again to open up the 8th rank. So king goes to e7, opening the 8th rank for the rook to defend. He keeps pushing b7. Rook goes to h8. Now he pushes the other pawn, defending, trying to defend the b pawn, and I have to bring in another attacker, which is the king. King to d7. So now his rook takes my pass pawn. So that's fine, because king to c6 will attack his pawn again, and I didn't want to go to c7, because then he can always pin my pawn there, and then my rook would have to stay stuck defending that pawn, which is not a good thing at this point. So king goes to a4, because if he moves this pawn, then I can simply come in, and then I would still capture the b pawn. But I think that would have been a better move for him, because if he went there, no, actually that would have been a bad move, because then his king would have no way to protect the pawns. So I capture b7. So rook to g7, pinning the pawn. So that I knew. So rook to f8. So now my rook is really stuck there. So he starts pushing b4. So instead of moving my king up here, knowing that he may continue pushing and attacking with tempo, then I simply decided to move my king to a8 and just wait, because he will need a couple of moves to get there, and now my f pawn is no longer pinned, and I'm hoping to go straight up the board and queen. So he goes b5. So f5, b6, f4. So now he's trying to feel the pressure because as long as I have the rook on the 8th rank, I could still defend. So he's getting worried here a bit. So my king goes up. I think that was a mistake. I should have continued pushing the f pawn, forcing him to defend. Anyways, that's where I went, and he moved his rook back to g7 check. And this is where I made a mistake. I should have went back here, but instead I tried to be more aggressive, and I went to a6, not realizing that he could checkmate me, which he did. And so at this point we were at the end of the game, like a 4-hour game, so I was exhausted, and you know, I made a mistake, but because of fatigue, I guess I wasn't too upset about that, and it was just one of those rookie mistakes that I made. And even the opponent, my opponent admitted it, that it was probably I had the better position. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something from this video.